Amanda and kids.
Yeah, of course not me. Look at me. I don't
Yeah.
need, right?
You still have a minute?
I have, that's just under a minute.
Under a minute? Hey, next time when you come to Rotary, come bring some money. Your daughter was in the national, singing national song.
Do I have to?
Yeah,
I
brag
thought that
about
was
it.
you they were gonna brag for.
You have to brag about that. It's your daughter, not mine.
That's true. That is true.
So bring some money, okay?
But she doesn't have my talent. She has Amanda's talent. So maybe Amanda should bring.
Okay,
Great.
okay, now 5 o'clock. So at Clackamas Fire District, we are always here for you. We value our people and the people we serve. Our focus is establishing team, trust, empowerment, accountability, mindset, and service. Please, for everyone who is attending, sign in at the sheet next to the door, which is a statutory requirement. So the regular monthly meeting of Clackamas Fire District Board of Directors will now come to order at 5 p.m. for ORS 192.610 to 192.690. For ORS 192.650, this meeting is being recorded. A video recording of this meeting will be posted on the Clackamas Fire District website. Please stand, face the flag for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Did you say invisible?
No.
Okay. Chief Brown, changes to the agenda.
Thank you, Marilyn. We had a couple small changes underneath section 8, informational only items. R1B, Chief Stewart will not be here today. He is sick. So I will just add his into the fire chief report. And underneath R1C, we will have Chief Phil Schneider give a update underneath business services
Instead of Chief Duty.
instead of Chief Peters. Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. Any other changes, Marilyn? Hearing none, okay. Approval of the minutes. Does any board member have any comments or changes to share? There were a couple of typographical errors and those have been corrected and posted to our webpage. So the ones on the webpage currently are correct. If there are no changes, then the minutes for the regular board meeting on June 26, 2023 stand approved as well. Okay, public comment. Is there anyone in the room who would like to make a public comment? Hearing none, I will say we have received a written comment. I guess it's public comment from a gentleman named Bright Emeka Okoburo in Benin City, Edo State, Nigeria. But he does wish to present his comments in writing, so I will just skip to the end of it, in which he says, I wish to commend the board, staffs, and gallant personnel in the field doing their best. I love you guys, and my respect for your dedication to work won't cool off. So that will be
Where is he from?
Nigeria.
Did he ask for any money?
Not yet. Yeah, anybody else, Shelby?
No, that isn't.
Okay. So if there's anybody during the meeting that wishes to make a public comment, please raise your hand and use your raise hand function, which is a *9 and then *6 to mute and unmute. So at this time, action is required on 2 items. B1, request board approval of Clackamas Emergency Services Foundation Trustee Replacement. President Hartman.
Thank you, Madam President and members of the board. I'd like to say 2 things, neither of which are on the agenda. First, I apologize to all of you for that false email that got blasted out today under my name. I didn't do it, but I'm sorry it happened. And then secondly, the things I'm going to be asking for today, As you will note from the names, occurred when Kyle Gorman was president. Kyle has had a fair amount of travail in his life. His brother went blind in December. He had surgery on his leg and has been in a cast since March. He's still in a cast. And other things of that nature. So he and I have not been in constant contact, shall we say. That's why you're seeing some of this as catch-up. So I apologize for that. What we're asking is that the board approve the replacement of Fire Chief Nick Brown as ex officio and a trustee. The background on this is he has a fair amount on his plate. And he has appointed a deputy chief to take his place at meetings and as trustee and act as ex officio, excuse me. Doing this will allow Chief Brown to do his chief activities and not be worried about not being or being at a meeting, and will allow Chief Whiteley to take his place. Therefore, it will allow us to have a better chance at having a quorum at future meetings. I'm presuming you want me to stop there and we'll take a vote on this, or do you want me to continue into the next?
No, so I have a question, President Carney. Are we actually replacing the fire chief with DC Wiley? Or are we just, I thought that the amendment you bought us on the bylaws was a little more flexible and sort of like lets the fire chief send to the meeting whoever he wants to send, not necessarily DC Wiley. Am I confused?
The motion that was presented to the Board of Trustees is the one that I just enunciated to you.
Okay.
So that's what I have to speak to right now.
It does not preclude the fire chief from coming back into that role
Oh, no, not at all.
in the future if he wants to. Or
Wait,
she
you
wants
Come
to.
on back anytime you want.
But and then my question is it an appointment of Doug Wiley?
Yes, Doug Whiteley will be the ex officio.
He is the, okay, good.
Yes.
That's what I wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody have any questions?
And I believe the bylaws actually read that fire chief or his.
Designated.
Designate, yeah, that's what we approved.
Yes,
So what we're approving is Doug Wiley as a designee.
bingo.
So that would be the motion that I would like to have, is a motion to, under the amended bylaws of the Clackamas Emergency Services Foundation, that to accept Doug Whiteley as the designee for, from the fire chief.
So moved. Second.
All right, moved and seconded, further discussion. Shelby, please call the roll.
Jay?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Marilyn?
Yeah.
Jim?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, B2, again, President Carney, request board approval of the Clackamas Emergency Services Foundation account holders and signers.
Yes, and as you will hear from the names, this is a historical cleanup that we're doing here. Clackamas Emergency Services Foundation requests the Board of Trustees of the Emergency Services Foundation request this board to approve the following changes related to our Embold, that's our credit union that has just recently changed its name from Clackamas Federal Credit Union. We're asking for these changes to that account. Nick Brown, Fred Charlton, Kyle Gorman, James Rhodes should be removed as authorized signatures from that account. And further, Sherry Rosenbaum and Doug Whiteley should be added to the account. For the record, Don Trotter, Jerry Carney, and Rachel Trotman are already signers of the account. In addition to that, we're asking for your approval of the following changes related to our Merrill Lynch account. Fred Charlton, Kyle Gorman, Aaron Strait should be removed as authorized signers on the account. And Jerry Carney, Rachel Trotman, and Doug Whiteley should be added as authorized signers on the account. With regard to that account, Sherry Rosenbaum and Doug Trotter are already signers on the account. These changes that I just requested were discussed and approved in our May trustees meeting.
President Carney, once you assign certain number of people to sign, wouldn't they be eligible for any account the foundation has instead of assigning them to individual account?
I'm sorry, Director Thomas, I don't understand what you're saying, and it's not
But
your
you-
fault, it's mine. I'm working, but the most you're engaged in one
Yeah,
here.
I understand.
The answer is no.
You have, answer is no?
Yes,
Because they're separate institutions. One's
Right.
Merrill Lynch and one's the credit union. So you have to do a set of minutes or.
But what you're
authorizations for
signing on
each one.
behalf of the foundation though.
Yeah, but there's each
separate
bank or
accounts.
credit union or financial
Oh,
institution
requires
requires
separate.
their own form. They
Okay.
don't kind of take somebody.
Oh,
Heaven forbid.
Yeah, and on top of that, what they need is they have to have the minutes from us for them to
Yes,
take it to the
yes,
bank to say that was approved by us to
but
do
I
it. So,
knew that,
yeah.
but I didn't know that each individual account has to be authorized.
Yep, they
It's
do.
because they're in different institutions. It's not, you're right, if we had 6 accounts
In same
at
bank.
one place, you would need to do 6 of them, but we have separate institutions.
Thank you, it's clarified.
Thank you for your patience with me. And in addition to that, I'm asking that as soon as possible, a copy of these minutes could come to me so I can go to the bank and the credit union, excuse me, and the stockbroker with the appropriate people and get things signed.
You better be nice to Shelby then.
That's exactly who you need to be nice to.
Candy works.
Yeah,
Candy.
Seas candy,
Z's candy.
Pretty much coffee.
coffee,
Coffee.
wow.
There you go.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, President Crane. So, let's see, I need to have a motion that the board has approved, an update to the foundation account holders and signers as set forth in the memorandum dated July 5th, 2023, deleting, Nick Brown, Fred Charlton, Kyle Gorman, and James Rhodes, and adding Sherry Rosenbaum and Doug Whiteley as authorized signers on the Embold Credit Union account, and deleting Fred Charlton, Kyle Gorman, and Karen Straits as signers on the Merrill Lynch account, and adding as leader Jerry Carney, Rachel Troutman, and Doug Whiteley.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, further discussion? Hearing none, Shelby, would you please call the roll?
Marilyn,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Hey, Jerry, good job cleaning that up. That was a mess. I was there when we tried to clean that up and it was a mess. Good job cleaning that up.
Thank you.
Okay, other business. Do you have any board or liaison reports?
Well, I was hoping Steve would be here because I wasn't able to attend the civil service meeting last Wednesday. I think there wasn't a whole lot, they didn't have a list, they just had to approve. Was there a testing?
Dan, do you remember what was approved?
Payroll.
Payroll.
The payroll.
Thank you. That's what the main meeting was,
There
that's right.
one. The only other thing I would say, and there's special reports is, the new contract with Sandy has been, I think, a rousing success. I was able to judge with Jim and his dad and some other people judged the Sandy Mountain Parade. Was up there over the weekend several different times, and over the last 10 days, 2 weeks, wherever we are into it now, I've talked to people. They are really happy, and it's been nice to be able to tell them that we're gonna take care of them just like we take care of everything else. I have friends, I probably live as close, Jay and I probably, I have friends and neighbors and family that live up there, and I've been able to tell them honestly, you're gonna be taken care of, and they're seeing it, and I think people are pretty happy. And I'll tell you something that I had a comment made, and it's a testament to Steve, Nick, staff, operations, finance. The guy said, you guys made it look easy, and that's always a lot of hard work. And that's what it was. Everybody was ready, and it's been absolutely wonderful, and the community out there is being taken care of. And so great job all around.
That kind of, as I understand, there are no other board reports. Right. So that sort of was only two informational updates, the comments, anybody else have anything they'd like to share? Okay, that would be only two. So informational reports from the division and departments, Office of the Fire Chief.
Thank you so much, Marilyn, and thank you, Director Haas, for that, for saying that. So Director Wall, President Wall, I'll be going over R1A and R1B. Couple quick updates. I'd love to sit there and dive into some operational stuff, but I think Dan would throw something at me, so I'm gonna leave the operational updates to him. But we've been busy. The organization's been busy last month, and it's continuing on through July as far as emergency response. And I just will say, it's awesome as a fire chief to see the caliber of firefighters that we have responding to calls. And it's amazing for me to see the caliber of support and administrative personnel that we have that help to support that mission to occur like it does. It's pretty impressive what we have going on here in this organization. I want to talk about the HRO process, the Human Resource Officer process. We had a total of 43 applicants for that position, which is really intriguing for us. So having as many people that put in, it was tough, but we narrowed that down to 10 from 43 that will be going to the interviews. And then we'll see where we're at after first round interviews, how many we're going to be taking forward to the chief's interview. Shelby, first interview for that is
Next Tuesday, the 25th, we'll have our panel interviews.
next Tuesday, the 25th. Trish has successfully transitioned over to the benefits coordinator position. And she is managing both HR manager as well as benefits coordinator until the HR can be put in place. Really diverse applicant pool. We have probably 4 or 5 that were from out of state to put in. Not sure if they were among the 4 or 5 that were among the top 10 that are moving on, but again, we're grabbing outside of Oregon. We're reaching all aspects of the country, which I think is pretty impressive. This is a lot about who we are as an organization. I want to highlight Tammy Owen. Tammy Owen and Community Services, day in and day out, they are out, outside of 911 calls where they see the fire crews. Community Services is out in our next interaction with the community and the public. But I just want to highlight here Tammy and the simple fact that she taught hands-only CPR this year to 3,905 students. If you think about that number for just her and what she did there, that's just flat impressive. Getting into the schools, teaching kids hands-only CPR, that's definitely gonna have an impact in hopefully save lives. So just thoroughly impressed with those numbers. We interviewed and offered 27 positions, so 24 firefighters with 28, 24 firefighter positions with 4 alternate positions for the fall and spring academy. to meet our needs to, our promises to the public for year one. So first academy is gonna happen in September. Second academy, Dan, is roughly March.
The first part of March.
The first part of March. So we offered those positions right up front. And the first academy are going through background checks as we speak. I think I'm gonna leave it at that. I'd love to answer any questions if you have any for me. Oh, sorry, I said that, and then the ceremony, the swearing in ceremony that we had on the 28th of June. I really appreciate everybody that came to that. It was a special moment, I think, for us as an organization and for the history of the organization. It was amazing to be able to swear in the new members of the family and swear in those that got promoted within the family. It is just absolutely amazing to see the people that we have, and it was pretty special to be able to swear in Philly, Chief Schneider, and excited to have him here with us until he retires. So with that, I'd love to answer any questions you have for me.
I thought about the ceremony, so the dancers, they were moving.
Yeah.
And very joyful.
Yeah, thank you.
Very nice. Okay, then you're gonna do B.
I will have Chief Schneider go to see if you're okay with that.
Oh, so.
Yeah, I did one A and B together. I moved them together.
So that
That's it.
encompasses.
That encompasses,
Chief
yeah,
Stewart's report, okay.
yes.
All right, then Chief Schneider,
Okay,
Office of Business Services.
thank you, Madam President, and members of the boards. So we're in this 17 days, and I just want to echo what all you guys are already seeing. The daily operations has been awesome. You know, the quick response rate is just seeing that go out the door and the engine sit back a little bit. Has been, we've been trying to do that for years, we just have the manpower. Guys are liking it, so the operation has been going good. I've got to work with about everybody that's part of the team, but fire prevention, again, Tammy, I mean, that weekend we had the mountain days. She was up there both days. Chief Brown and I came up, Ryan, I mean, I can't name everybody that went up there, but it was pretty incredible to see all the apparatus, all the volunteers clear from one side of the city hall to the other. So we had a lot of kudos on that. So Fire Marshal's office has already done some couple extraordinary things with local businesses that I've already gotten a call on. It's just on and on and on. Ryan's great with the volunteers. We're getting that set up. He'll have a report, I'm sure, how great that's doing. I'll be in trouble like you are with Deanna. But that's been awesome. Getting a lot of feedback from the CPOs. That's just been great having them up at the Dover station. It's been a pleasure with Chief Dieters working day to day for just services. Just him and I have been tag team and stuff. I love it. It just, I'll just stand with, it's an awesome organization that I've always known, but you know, it feels good. I've been very welcome here, and it just feels good to have that, the culture you guys produce and what the fire family is all about. So it's been fun. It's exciting.
So what specific division are you going to be working at?
Fire Chief's office.
Pardon?
Fire Chief's office
Okay.
with me.
I've been going home
Thank you.
tired. You're breaking me out of my little shell. That's been good. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Questions? Thanks, Chief Schneider.
Yeah.
Okay, Office of Financial Services, Chief Financial Officer Whitaker.
Okay, good evening, directors. So I was just gonna cover tonight, my estimate for the end of fiscal year 22-23. So I handed the handout out to everyone. So just, you know, cautionary note, these are preliminary. We are still processing some of the year-end invoices and revenue receipts. I still have some grand accounting left to do, but I unless I missed something, I think we'll be pretty close to the numbers we have here, but they're round numbers because none of it is final or exact yet. I think probably the good news there at the bottom of the front page there with the general fund on it is I'm projecting we'll end that we ended the fiscal year with a surplus in the general fund of just over $1 million. And there's a couple things that lead to that. Probably the biggest piece of that was some really surprising tax revenue receipts in May and June. So last year in May and June, we totaled $1.1 million in tax receipts. This year it was 2.3 million. So that was a surprise. I think last year was low, but 2.3 was more we've seen in those months, ever, as far as I could tell. So, there was just, some prior year taxes that obviously someone was catching up on, or some large taxpayer was catching up on, and so that was a big boost. The other big piece was in the EMS revenue line. So we had been kind of falling behind in that line most of the year, but our new ambulance billing contract has started to catch up. The other big piece was GEMT revenues, so we kind of benefited from a double GEMT payment this year from the state, because we received both our fiscal year 2021 and fiscal year 21-22 payments in this fiscal year, because there was a delay in the 2021 one payment because they were doing a mini audit. So both of those were received in this year, so that bumped up that number. And then the other kind of revenue piece that was unexpected, I guess, was, and that's buried in the other revenue line, is we had a lot of large health claims towards the end of the year. And so that was offset though with some stop loss payments from our stop loss insurer. So that bumped up the revenues. Expenses pretty much were in line with what we expected, with the exception of what I just mentioned, which was some really big medical claims in May and June. I thought we'd have some savings in our medical claims line, but we ended up spending all the 25,000 of that. But ops replacement came in at about 6.6 million, which was a little less than we budgeted. Obviously, we had bumped up that budget numerous times in the year, but it came in under what we budgeted, and at 6.6 million. Last year was at 6.9 million, so we were able to lower that a little. So all in all, that comes out to, we took in roughly $1 million more than we spent last fiscal year. Which I think, given kind of the unusual revenue that we experienced in May and June, we should have come in with a surplus. I think long-term, to think about what the surplus means, I would also say, and we'll get to this on the next page, we only spent about $500,000 on capital replacement in the fiscal year. And if we're only spending $500,000 on capital replacement, we should have $1 million surplus, because we should be spending $1.5 to $2 million every year on capital replacement. So happy, obviously, that we have a surplus. That's an improvement, but I don't want to oversell it as we've solved all the financial issues. It's just definitely close the year in a good fashion. So the back side of the page just has a couple of our other major funds. The capital replacement fund, like I mentioned, we transferred $755,000 from the general fund to the capital replacement fund this year. But we didn't end up spending a whole lot, mainly in facilities. They weren't able to finish some of the concrete projects and things, so we pushed those to next year. So that's why there's savings there. We spent just under $1 million out of the capital replacement fund, but 412,000 of that was to purchase the second Fuller Roadhouse. So just under 600,000 of that would be considered actual capital replacement. We did not do the $560,000 prepayment of the loan, as we talked about in the budget committee. So that also led to less spending in that fund than we anticipated, and therefore a bigger reserve heading into next fiscal year. And then lastly, I have Fund 80, which of course is the wildland mitigation fund, and mainly Crew 30. And they once again operated with a surplus. The revenues didn't exactly come from the sources they originally expected, but through grants with the state and conflags, they brought in enough revenue to cover the expenses and enter next year with a healthy cushion to operate through the summer. So the only other major funds that aren't summarized here would be the debt service fund, but there's not a lot going on there. That's pretty straightforward. Property taxes cover the debt service, and then the grants fund, which we're still spending down the $2 million apprentice grant. Plenty of funds in there, but I still have some work to do on that before that one's finally presented, but there shouldn't be any major concerns there. So that's where we're at as of the end of 22-23, and as soon as we have the auditor in here, we'll hopefully have finalized numbers to share. So. And I think that's it for my report tonight, unless there's any questions on this or anything else finance related.
I have a question on the capital replacement fund interest. interest column, I mean, $25,000 approximately more in interest, percentage wise, it's way less more than the general fund had on it.
Yeah, I mean, so the main reason for that is, each time we did a supplemental budget, I adjusted the general fund's interest up based on higher interest rates. So the general fund's budget was adjusted numerous times. And then the capital replacement fund, we didn't do a supplemental budget in June, so I didn't update it to reflect the higher interest rates that we have the second portion of the year. So it's just,
I was just thinking like an extraordinary amount for $25,000.
yeah, and it is because we went into the year assuming an interest rate of 2%. And for most of the year, we had an interest rate of 3.5% to 4%. So all of our interest earnings were well above. I don't have the original budget numbers on here, but you'd see the same thing with the general fund. If we had the original budget rather than just the revised budget, the interest came in way above where we budgeted it. Which is another reason why I expected to see a surplus, because we were earning much more in interest than we expected.
And then the
You see the same thing in Fund 82, right, where I only had 1,000 interest, it came in at 7,000, so.
Then, and you're on Fund 80, the IGA revenue and the grant revenues are both totally skewed.
Yes,
That was.
and that just goes back to the original expectation was that some of the money would come through an IGA with either the state or ODF, and in the end, most of the funding came through a continuation, an extension of the grant with the community college, and also a grant with OSFM to fund wildland mitigation work.
Anybody else got questions? Okay, thank you. No other questions? Anything else you want to add?
Oh, I'm good, thank you.
Okay. All right, R1E, Office of Emergency Services, Division Chief Miller.
All right, thank you.
His daughter with a wonderful voice.
Yeah,
She was awesome.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, she got recruited for 2 more gigs over this weekend as well, so it's kind of funny. Yeah, I feel like I have a lot I'm supposed to say with Chief Brown and Snyder pushing everything over to me, holding back, but I just want to hit a few things. Come back around on the Sandy rescue, and the system that works, the system that we had talked about with the levy, and a system that we're testing out for really kind of fine tuning it as we start planning out how we're going to upstaff the levy and the quick response vehicle and the support role that they're going to have on the less severe calls. We're 17 days in, and it is proving its worth in Sandy. So it actually is just really good timing for operations to kind of watch that. We'll start pulling the data after the first month and just kind of start putting together our plan on how we can adapt that program moving forward. So a lot of really good things coming out of it. So we appreciate the opportunity to utilize it in Sandy and fine tune it, and also fine tune the type of apparatus we're using for that. So we've assembled apparatus committee again to start looking at that and start working through the preliminary conversations. So with Sandy, we've been able to upstaff a few times with the $35,000 that they awarded through the OSFM grant for staffing for wildfires. Since we've had a hot summer already, we've been able to utilize that twice now. On that, so I don't know how much the board watches the social media or hears just some of the significant calls, but not only we're having big fires, rapidly progressing fires, but we're doing it in severe heat too. It's not very common for us to have a 2-alarm house fire, but last month we had Hoffmeister fire, which is 2 alarms. Just this weekend, we had a 2-alarm on Harrison, on 28th and Harrison. In Milwaukee, there's a hoarder house that spread to another house that we got to stop on. But heat is a major part of it. We had a 2-alarm commercial on 172nd. It was a apartment complex under construction, this close to being done, painted, appliances in, everything, and they were doing work on the elevator and started a fire that ran the entire attic. And so the suppression system wasn't put in place. Well, it was put in place, wasn't activated yet, so we turned that on. It suppressed the fire, and then it turned into, it was just a significant incident that was challenging to dive into it. So we've been very busy, and it's not normal for us to have the multiple alarm fires, and we've had a handful of them in the last month. So on the topic of fires across the state, I want to kind of get into the wildland thing just a little bit. There are things that are burning close to our borders, and there are things that are burning grass fires, wind-driven fires up and down the gorge that are torching off. We've been on 2 mobilizations already this year. Short because there's just been sagebrush and grass. Task Force 3 and Task Force 9. Task Force 9 just got back last week. They have had I just want to run through how this works. Oregon State Fire Marshal's Office has 3 ways that they can utilize resources across the state. One of them is a traditional conflagration, where there's a governor order, and then they pull the lever and they assemble counties and they send them out as task forces. The other 2 that they use are pre-positioning, which they started a couple of years ago. So when they have like a lightning blast come through, and they know that a weather pattern is coming in, they'll pre-position for a maximum of 72 hours and go put you in a county. Like go send us down to Josephine County and sit there, wait for it to go past and then see where the fires are, then go put them out. And they put in a new one this year called an immediate response. The idea behind that is that it's a 72-hour as well, but they would like us to get out the door potentially quicker to go and help initial resources as a first line of like relief. And then after 72 hours, we come back. Those 2 72-hour components, pre-positioning and the immediate response, they're not a governor order. OSFM manages that. The state conflagration is separate. So we have 3 opportunities to get out. And one of them was a state conflagration this year, and then one of them was a 72-hour immediate response. So interesting how it's playing out, but it's still early and we've already had 2 of them. So yeah, that's my report out operations.
Would you speak a little bit to the Fuller Road fire, the apartment fire there?
Yeah.
Time and why increase staffing? is
Right,
gonna be huge
right,
for
yeah,
us.
so during last month's board meeting, I could probably go talk an hour about significant calls that we had, but there's an apartment complex right behind Station 1. I believe it's Point West Apartments. It ties up to our property that we just purchased and goes down to Monterey. And there was a fire at first thing in the morning with people trapped, and our crews showed up. Actually, they looked when they got in the engine, you could see the header and the flames and everything from the bay at Station 1. As they were sizing up and given the brief initial report, somebody jumped out of the window and landed from the 3rd floor, landed on the ground. And so he communicated that, and then a second person dropped as well. So the need for the 4-person staffing, somebody to take care of a patient, pull lines, search, like all that stuff, be able to occupy the interior with the first driving company is kind of slapping us in the face right now. Like we've had these significant calls since the May 16th vote, and we're in it. All these wildfires, apartment fires, 2 alarm fires, the efficiencies of a light resource, we're in it. So it is just justifying what we all worked so hard to accomplish. And
Makes you wish you could do it all right now, but we gotta stay within our plan and get them implemented as we have moving forward, but it's coming. So thanks, Dan.
Yep. Yeah. Any questions?
I have a question. Is it just like, how to make a guess that they need to have a 72-hour crew in Josephine County or in Wheeler County or in Grant County? What do they say? Well, it looks like it might storm.
It's, you know what, I think a lot of that's a big part of it. The other part of it is that they know that these counties, it's a long travel distance for help from Clackamas County, Multnomah County, Washington County to get down there. And they're watching these weather patterns. And another thing they do is they look at the fuel moistures. And right now, the amount of fuel or amount of moisture in our fuels, it's bone dry, especially on this side of the Cascades, which is really weird for us. It normally doesn't trend that direction. So they look at the wind, the future wind, the fuel moistures, and the weather pattern coming through. And if a lightning strike did hit, what's the scientific proof that it's going to rapidly progress? And they look at that and pull the trigger from that move there. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. There's a lot of science behind it. And also past history of how fast, especially down in southern Oregon, how fast the fires progress there in the tall timber versus something like in Wasco County where it's grass and sagebrush.
Wow, it's burning pretty good at Moser though.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, they are moving. I think there's one burning right now up 224 outside Promontory Park, about 2.5 miles from Promontory Park. And reports that that's about 50 acres already, but ODF, or Department of Forestry, it's their fire. They've dumped a ton of assets on it early, air assets. We can actually watch with cameras on helicopters doing drops and all that. So they're aggressively trying to get ahead of it before a wind event pushes it anywhere.
How about the one outside Estacada?
That's it.
That's it. That's the one I'm speaking to. Yeah, it's right in their backyard again.
There's one in Banks too, right?
I think that's,
You know,
I think they got that under control.
yeah, there's been a couple small ones. I know there's one right now that's about 5,000 acres in southern Oregon. So it is moving. We're getting into mid-July, so the southern Oregon will start moving, so.
You also got that, you have a fire just, Boulder fire, it's about 250 acres just on the other side of Hood, in between Mount Hood and Madras. So,
That's been burning for 2 days.
yeah, it's been about a week. It's about 50% contained. But it's here.
Our fear is, just like in 2020, when we had small fires burning in the national forest, that just were small and they just sat there for a couple of weeks until the wind event came in. So I think that's where everybody's kind of looking at that, saying, we know we're gonna get late August, early September, we're gonna get winds. Can we get these knocked out and put to bed before that event pushes through again? So not that we would have the significant winds like we did in 2020, but that's kind of the feeling. And there's a couple circling 26 corridor, which coincidentally is where we're doing the fuels mitigation, getting the grants from OSFM. So it's all kind of coming together, but the threat's there.
Anybody else have a question? Okay, thank you, Chief Miller. Okay, welcome back, shop steward Gordon. Missed you the last couple of minutes.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Hi.
Evening, Madam President, members of the board. I just have a couple updates here. So the state of Oregon passed an additional $5 million in funding for apprentices. And so local 1159 is definitely going to be lobbying for some of that money. So we'd like to continue our apprentice program. I think the success that we've shown so far is only just the beginning. The 1159 Foundation awarded 3 scholarships to members' children at $500 each for college or trade school.
Sweet.
We had our annual family picnic at Oaks Park on Friday and it was well attended. We welcomed 12 members to the D1 shop from Sandy. They were previously local 1159 members, but now they're part of the D1 shop. We also added one member to the BC unit. So that's BCJC. 1159. Yes.
Was Sandy in a different local union before?
So Sandy was in a different shop within local 1159.
Or within 1159?
Yes. So similar to how Estacada or
Malala.
Malala or
Canyon,
Candy,
Lake Oswego.
like Oswego.
Different bargaining units within 1159 umbrella.
So, but it's all same under the 1159 umbrella?
Yes,
Yes.
Thank you.
each one of them has an Andrew, basically.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. There's one shop steward for each
Yeah.
unit.
Oh, there's only one in.
Well, that's better.
Pretty much. Yeah.
There you go.
So Local 1159 continues to be engaged with the EMS council as they work through the ambulance service agreement. We've been working hard on that, attending a lot of meetings with the county, specifically Bill Conway. We've also been involved with a new ASA labor subcommittee, which is made up of ourselves, Local 1159, 1660, LOCOM, CCOM, and the Teamsters. And so we're all going to be working together to kind of be on the same page when it comes to any type of labor implications for the ambulance service agreement. So that's all I have, unless you guys have some questions.
So the Teamsters represent the AMR?
Correct.
Oh. Anybody have questions? No, thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew.
Okay. R1G, Volunteer Association Report. Start with Volunteer Coordinator, sorry, Guerrero.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. June, busy in our arena as well, onboarding. Sandy was part of that. We had 14 out of 30 nights at Station 12, 1 out of 30 at Station 13. 3 out of 30 were staffed at 21s, and then 8 out of 30 were at-home responders. Those are gonna trend upwards next month. We graduated part of June 29th, the day after the swearing of the Sandy folks. We graduated 15 volunteers, 1 water tender driver and 14 suppression volunteers. And that was a pretty amazing experience. It was about 10 years prior to that I was standing in that line getting pinned. So it was awesome. We were busy with drills, getting everybody kind of up to speed. We did a water tender class so that Sandy operators could become familiar with our rigs and we could become familiar with theirs. We did some bailout training, which they had not had before. Rural water supply, so we reinforced working with the brush rigs and the tenders together and how that operation looks. Then we spent a couple days doing some onboarding, just kind of dotting the i's, crossing the t's to make sure everything's nice and smooth coming over for the Sandy folks. Swearing in on the 28th and graduation on the 29th. Over the course of the month, the Volunteer Association also elected a new board of directors. And Michael Morton is the new president, and he's going to come up and share after I field any questions that you may have.
Questions?
I'd just like to say, volunteer graduation, Ryan. Steve spoke very highly of the work you put in to make this work. And I want to make sure everyone knows what he said. Because as I said, you made it look easy, and that's always a lot of hard work.
Thank you very much. It's a passion. It's not work.
I love that.
With that one, welcome President Morton.
Good evening, and thank you for having me here. With what Ryan said, we've been working together with Sandy for the past couple of years now, and it's great to finally join hands and be able to integrate together with them. And it's been nice to get everybody used to each other's territory now. We've been doing familiarization with both of the sides of the district over the last couple of weeks to get everybody feeling comfortable. And at our meeting this month, there was a good show of the guys that came over from Sandy, which was nice to see more than just a couple of us at the meeting. It made it more friendly, and they're enthusiastic, and a lot of them shared how grateful they were for how welcoming it was. And a lot of them were nervous about what would come, just because they had heard from people saying, oh, you don't want to do that. And they've all been happy with our transition, and it's been nice to have a smooth transition where it's been sort of rougher with Gladstone's transition. It took a while to get them integrated in with us, since we hadn't been working together prior to the transition. Otherwise, it's just, I'm trying to get my feet underneath myself as the new president, trying to figure everything out. And thank you for letting me speak in front of you. Is there any questions I can answer?
Thank you, President. Well, congratulations. and
Congratulations, welcome aboard.
And you have big shoes to fill. Okay, that concludes the operational part of this agenda. We have correspondence items and informational items. Anybody comment or anything on any of those? Anything further? Chief? Nothing for the order of the order. Next meeting of the board of directors will be on Monday, August 21st at 5 p.m. right here in person, and we will have the hybrid option available to people who wish to video conference.
Oh, Marilyn, sorry, one thing, told you it was going to Fast Tech was the company for IT services that we that we went with. That was one thing out of the last board meeting that you asked that we share. Fast Tech is the company that was chosen out of the process.
When do they move in?
They've started the process now, but it'll be a transition over the next month. Yeah, be a phased in approach.
Anything else?
So,
No problem. Adjourned at 5:49.